Lewis, thank you for joining me today.
Thanks for having me, mate.
So I like to start these things quite easily. We just go back to kind of your youth a little bit. When you were younger, where your personality started developing and what shaped you into who you are.
Yeah, so it's a weird one because I've only recently found out that I was diagnosed, I've just recently been diagnosed as autistic. So I was always a bit of, just as an only child as well, I always just worked best by myself and didn't need other people. So cracked on with a task and stuff like that. So when you started in the kind of big wide world, I remember the first job when I was looking around, and it was like, oh, you start at 11 a.m. I thought, oh, this sounds great. They didn't tell me that you finished at fucking 7 p.m. and it ended up to be door-to-door sales, which I think they called field sales representative, which sounds a lot more glamorous than door knocking in the pissing down rain in Salford. So yeah, that was the first one that I went to, and I remember going in there because you don't know, you go in with fresh eyes. And then they all started watching these motivational videos and doing Denzel Washington speeches and American football speeches, and then started huddling and chanting. And I remember thinking, what a fucking bunch of idiots. I thought, I can't do this.
So you didn't buy into it from a very young age anyway?
From day one, I didn't understand the pitch that they had, which was go out and expect 99 no's and try and get a yes. So my thoughts were, well, why don't we just target people that are interested in this rather than doing the volume game? And they said that was not a winner's attitude. Yeah, so yeah, I didn't last long there. But then I ended up finding my way into it. Initially started as telesales kind of vibe, selling tickets to events for public sector events. It wasn't anything glamorous. And that was okay, but I didn't really like speaking to people. I'm just not that kind of person usually. So ended up transitioning to the kind of emails and stuff like that. And if I can make someone do what you want with words and I don't have to speak to them physically, I thought, oh, that's a better one. So I ended up being quite good at that.
Interesting. So digital community, you were born in digital communication. You were born in the right time for how you like to deal with it.
I kind of went through the whole rites of passage of all the shit end of it before eventually getting into a kind of semi-normal job. I just got a really good opportunity it was my friend's brother-in-law at the time. And he was launching a nutrition brand for this American fitness celebrity called Shaun T. He does the insanity workouts, things like that.
I was, funnily enough, I won't go on too much of a tangent. I was just talking about that with the previous guest because during lockdown, Shaun T insanity is all I did, I'm ashamed to say.
Mate, he's a super nice guy, to be fair. It was, so we launched his UK nutrition range because he didn't have one. And we were hosting these sellout events. We did Event City in Manchester. We did the Reebok Club. We did Hale Country Club. And it was great. But then this is where the old naivety came in. I was being super, super nice. And I said, look, we'll pay me after we've done the events and stuff like that.
Okay.
And that was a bad move because when I then asked for the payments for all the sold out events, for all the marketing and comms that I was doing, I was basically told no. I think I got a few £100 or something like that. And then it's a difficult situation in that when it's your friend's brother-in-law, it's a friend of a friend. So that was the first kind of...
Well, what was their reasoning? There's no good reason.
No, there wasn't any good...
Just no.
Yeah, there wasn't any good reason for it. So getting burned early on is a very... sobering experience that makes you think, right, okay, well, we kind of need to put stuff in stone now. Stop being so nice to people. People aren't nice. Everyone's inherently selfish. So,
well, out of curiosity, just because you said you like working solo and stuff, but you've realised over time you've got to work with people because you've got to have people as your clients. How did that play into your dislikes? Maybe too strong a word, but your disinterest of communicating with people directly and working with people directly because you were burnt. Much to begin with.
Yeah, 100%. It's giving people the benefit of the doubt and trying to be a nice person. It's sometimes it's great and it's airy fairy and people will tell you that you should do that, but in the reality of business, that's not what business is like. That's not what people are like. Everyone is inherently selfish and will look out for their own self-interests in every situation.
Put you off it at all? It made you just think, I want to keep doing this, but I'm going.
Yeah, because that was the first time I was actually doing social media stuff as well, social media comms and social media organic posting and things like that. So that was the first step into that, and I kind of got a bit of a flavour for it after that, and I thought, oh, I'm quite good at this. And then after that, I started freelancing for a little bit, and then I wanted to grow the business, but obviously, when you're just on your own, you're spinning plates, things like that.
Yeah.
I ended up getting another opportunity to go and basically work with another friend of a friend. He had an agency, but it was very kind of PPI based, cold finance stuff, and they wanted to start building brands. So I went in there as like the head of digital. It was good. I learned a lot. He was like one of the best salespeople I've ever met.
Okay.
But I ended up kind of doing the work of about 6 people, which, you know, it's good that everyone, I think, needs to go through that to figure out what areas you like most. Mm-hmm. But eventually, yeah, we just had a conversation and then said, look, I was sitting in these meetings with people. It wasn't my business. And I would be sat opposite a CEO or an MD who'd be going, this is how the ads will work and this is how this is. And I'm sat there thinking, this is fucking nonsense. This guy's an idiot. But when it's not your business, you can't say that.
Yeah.
So it's smile, nod. Let's deal with it when we get back to the office.
But quite hard to follow somebody whose opinion you don't respect either.
Correct. So it's a very difficult situation because you're like, you know, boss, that's not going to work. Is that right? We'll try and make it work. Oh, yeah, but it's not going to work.
Yeah.
Naturally, it doesn't work. And then who's left holding the blame? It's like, well, it's kind of your fault for listening to this idiot with all these opinions based off absolutely no data. And then I think, yeah, that was a driver for me. I thought, right, okay, there must be like a gap in the market here of people that could be like totally honest with people. Just cut out all the shit. Be very, very honest. If something's shit, tell them it's shit. Mm-hmm. And just be flexible and back yourself on your results as well. You don't need to tie people in. You don't need to fool people. You don't need to schmooze people. And it sounds weird to say that that is a USP in the marketing industry, but it is at the moment. Loads of people that we speak to, probably 80-90% of our clients have been burned by someone else. So it's one of those, isn't it? It's a difficult industry because there's such a low barrier to entry. Mm-hmm. Then, it was a case of, if it doesn't work, what I'm thinking will work, you know, I'll just go back to the drawing board and fall back into the corporate line of, yes, sir, no, sir, let's try and make it work, sir. But touch wood, it's been going all right. Yeah.
Well, so you weren't enjoying kind of how these clients were viewing things, so you went on your own. Now it's clear what gave you the kick up the ass to do that. Like you said, you're like, there's a space in the market for being honest with people.
Yeah.
But it's like we've said, it's crazy that that's almost revolutionary.
Yeah.
So when you first went out into the working world and you started introducing that thought process, the messaging and positioning, I'd imagine, is a lot more refined now. How was it in those early stages?
I'm quite delusional, so I was like, I'm going with this from day one. It's not going to be a thing where we change our morals and ethics the bigger we get. And if, you know, oh, well, let's be really blunt with a small business, but if a big business says we want to do this, we'll bend over. No, it's been like that from the start. So we'll go in and go, that shit. What's the point in this person? This is what we're going to do. That's my Marmite approach for a lot of people.
What was the results in that period? Some people loved it, some people didn't. Didn't most appreciate it? Okay,
yeah,
so it was
fully... at the start, we were working with a lot of like bars and restaurants and things like that. So it's very kind of fun if you're given full creative freedom. It's very kind of simple and straightforward for what to do if people are open to it.
Yeah.
If they weren't open to it, then we kind of like just walk away from it. But at the time, people were snapping our hands off because we were probably too cheap. When it was just like me and then a guy freelancing as well, and I'm spinning social media, copywriting, paid social, paid search, and then he's doing like the web design and bits and bobs on the side. It's like, it's quite a lot of work that people were getting for probably, I don't know, 600 quid a month. So it's, I understand why we had a queue of clients, and now I'm a little bit older and wiser. I'm like, what were we doing?
Yeah, well, everyone's got to start somewhere, right?
Yeah, you have to go through that. It was, the results were really, really good. And then obviously the C-bomb hits. So that happened. And then obviously you naturally panic because it's like bars, restaurants, you know, you're shutting. There's nothing you could potentially swing it round to say, let's keep doing this. Yeah. People can't come in. So I think it was like 60-70% of the clients kind of stopped. And then, oh shit, panic station's here. What am I going to do? And then pretty much like the week after, the phone started going. It's like, right, okay, seeing this stuff online, seeing the results you're posting about, want to start taking it seriously. We need to get online quickly. We need to do social. We need to do ads. We need to kind of digitize our business quickly.
Sorry, and bars and restaurants were saying we need to digitize?
No, these guys were still shut.
So new clients were coming in.
So it was basically when COVID like kind of shut a lot of industries down. You know, certain sectors saw a massive boom. So a lot of, particularly like home and garden, people were stuck in the houses. Well, best time to go and buy a fucking shed or a sofa.
Plants kicked off.
It was dead sunny, wasn't it? Like in a lot
the first March, April, yeah.
I was grafting my bollocks off when everyone's going out buying like, rattan garden sets and just chilling, getting paid 80%.
I know, I get delusional every year. I'm like, oh, March is coming. Summer's basically here. And that was just like a one-off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was good, yeah, from there. I thought it'd die down, but it's not really.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm not going to complain about it, but I think, yeah, that's probably just from being vocal online, because when this shit hits the fan, it's like you go back to the most memorable person or the loudest voice in the room, because, that's front of mind. So we've kind of, everything that we've ever done's been inbound. We've never kind of pitched and jumped through hoops against other agencies. We've never advertised or anything like that. Everything just comes from doing good work, and other people talk about it and we talk about it, and then people find it. So,
well, I think we'll go back to the loudest voice in the room, because I know your opinion on that's changed ever so slightly at this point when everyone's getting louder.
Yeah.
But going back to the bars and restaurants, I'm quite curious of what your strategy, thought process, creative process was there, because lots of conversations going on at the moment in marketing, and we'll get to it as well, because I know you think quite strongly about this as well. Risk taking is at an all-time low. Every marketing looks the same. Every company looks the same. Distinctiveness is out the window. Mediocrity in marketing and just how companies kind of run themselves is consistently consistent.
Yeah.
So when you had a variety of restaurant, bar clients, was it a one-size-fits-all approach back then because you could get away with it then, or were you trying to push them creatively?
Yeah, I think you should always be pushed creatively. It depended on the venue in itself. Some of it was a little boutique, olderly edge restaurant where, the clientele probably aren't going to be interested in like crazy TikToks of people throwing milkshakes at each other. Yeah. So that's very kind of like moody, and they want to go for sophistication. So you've got to show the setting and sell the kind of emotion. And then if you're going for like a burger and shakes joint, you can have a little bit more fun with it. So you can be like, right, okay, let's get people in that look like the target market and do kind of like UGC, things like that. So it's always kind of, it is dependent on the business, but you're right, you can't get away with the fact that you have to take some kind of risk if you do want to grow, because it has never been louder and more competitive than it is now. And it's probably the worst thing you can do for your business, because indifference is anonymity, and anonymity is bankruptcy eventually. So, you've got to rock the boat at some point. And
that's something Lightbulb Media is obviously quite good at.
We try.
Quite's probably an understatement, but
yeah, we try to. I think it's just, there was a massive gap in the market of people who just did it like that. I mean, when we started, everyone was saying, you swear too much, you're not professional enough to get big clients, and it's never going to last. And you're like,
who was saying stuff like that to you out of curiosity?
It's usually other kind of industry, people that have been around for a while. Your standard, I'll pay for 2 tables and an award and get a load of crystal trophies, and this is how it's always been done. And there's a kind of old boys club of how it should be.
Yeah.
And we tie people in, and it's 12-month contracts, and we charge people 20 grand a month, and if it's shit, it's shit. Like the kind of old school vibes that weren't really ready for some little chav to come in and start mouthing off and taking clients off them.
They didn't want to change or adapt, so it's easier to put you down, maybe put doubt in you, and
correct,
hopefully prove themselves right.
Yeah, but we work in data, and all the things they said didn't happen, so who's the winner?
Do you still get chat like that from them as much, or
not so much? But a lot of our clients come to us from bigger agencies that couldn't deliver, who made the promises, and you go there because of the shiny crystal trophy that they got from the thing, and it actually turns out you just get palmed off to a junior who doesn't really know what he's doing, and there's no relationship, and there's no appetite for scale. That those industries are based on, if you're paying us the most money, you get the most attention, and I think that's a bit of an odd one. Whereas when we come in, we like to potentially we get a lot of SMEs where we want to scale up together, so we can get someone in who's, they might be turning over 30k a month, and then the goal is to get them to 300k a month.
Yeah.
So if you grow together, you tend to have a little bit more trust, whereas I think they all just kind of go for the same targets, and there's 10 of them jumping through hoops saying, we'll give you this, and we'll give you that, and we'll give you that, and I haven't got the time to pitch it. From my point of view, it's either you choose us, specifically us, or we don't work with you. That's it. We're not going to compete on price or offer or dance around like a dickhead, because we've never had to.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, there's always people waiting to work with us that are fully invested, and we found that those people, you get better results from it because they know exactly what they're getting into, they respect you, and they know how it's going to work, and it's just such a smooth working relationship. You're not constantly fighting against the tide of, can we say this? Should we put it over to legal? What about compliance? Come on.
Yeah, not for you.
No, not for me.
So it's interesting as well. You're talking about the business growth and how that kind of period has gone. Mm-hmm. But I'm also interested about you and your personal growth because, like you said, you prefer working alone. Mm-hmm. But as we both know, you've grown the team ever so slightly.
Yeah.
And you're having to learn how to work with others, what to give to others. So how's that been going for you?
It's been an education process. I think it's I don't know. It's like we're running some kind of charity case because I got diagnosed with autism, and then we've got a couple with ADHD in the team as well. So it's a very neurodiverse team. It's always been quite a diverse team. We have a good mix of characteristics. There's like 4 or 5 of us that come in the office, and then a few people are kind of international. One's Irish, one's traveling around Europe, one's based over in India. So it's we do keep in contact, but it's not always everyone in constantly face to face. So it feels like you do get it rationed a little bit. You know, you go in Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday and see them, but it's Monday
like manageable. Yeah.
Monday you're at home, Friday you're at home. So you kind of, it's not like living like being under someone's feet 24/7. So I think it's all right. I've tried to create a place where if you want to be in the office every day from 9 to 5, you're more than welcome to, but I won't be. So everyone's free to kind of do what they want. It's more of a kind of KPI driven environment rather than time served, clock in, clock out. I don't like that.
How does autism, and this is going to make me sound totally uneducated, but how does autism and ADHD play with each other? Just because one's, like you said, one's a bit more siloed, a bit more focused, and the other is a bit more bouncing around. What's this? What's this? What's this?
Yeah.
To simplify, I totally know that.
No, it's a very, you know what? Neurodiverse people tend to kind of like find each other because they balance each other out. So if it was left to me, I'd just be in a dark room recharging all weekend, and then in a light room just doing the work by myself. So you need those people around you to think of new ideas. And sometimes for them, when they're feeling overwhelmed and there's so many things come on, they sometimes just need that autistic, like what you're worried about, 0 and 1. It's a 0 or 1. There is no grey area. Just do that or that.
So do you struggle to see a grey area? Is that?
I don't think grey areas exist. Is it like something either works or it doesn't? It's either the truth or it's a lie. Like, I'm very blunt with it because grey areas just waste time. What are we debating about here? Like, oh well, you know, this could work, but what about this? Let's just fucking launch it, see if it works, and then if it does work, we do more of it, and if it doesn't work, we don't do it again. Like, there's a lot of time, and there is a lot to be said for strategy, but sometimes people will spend 6, 7, 8, 9 months on strategy before launching it, and when they do launch it, 4 other people launched 6 months ago, and they're way ahead of you. So it's you know, you need to use that first mover advantage. Like, ship it, get it out as fast as possible, test it, look at the data, and then go from there. But I think people do it I think they do it to procrastinate, to be honest with you. Oh, I'm prepping, we'll get investment, we're doing this, and we just want to make sure it's right. Just fucking do it. Just do it. But people don't want that failure. They don't want that rejection, so they put it off for as long as physically possible. Yeah. And then, ironically, it fails.
There's a saying, I'll butcher what is it? It's like perfection is the enemy of progress.
It is. People overcomplicate marketing all the time, and it is a continuous process of testing. You do not know what will work until you test it. And it might be something, you know, when people come to us and say, oh, we know who our customer personas are. Oh, it's definitely these, and it's Barry, and Barry likes long walks on the beach, and he shops at Waitrose. And then I would say in pretty much 85% of cases, they're wrong. And they've spent, you know, 5-10 grand, and then the sensible people go, oh, well, let's go with the data. If they say it's actually these guys, let's target them. But then you get some people that go, no, this is my brand, this is my baby, let's stay with this, and let's keep targeting people that don't give a fuck about us. Yeah. You're like, so you actively want to piss your own money away. You don't want to follow the facts in front of your eyes. And sometimes they genuinely won't move. And me 3 years ago would have tried to educate them on that and say, this is why, this is why, this is why. There's no time for that anymore. Like, we're paid as service providers, not as counsellors. Yeah. I'm not here to sit and convince you that marketing works. You know it works because you're speaking to us. So it's a case of accept the facts or don't. Again, 0 or 1. I'm not going to sit and pat you on the head. Like, what this stuff works. So you can choose to actually follow the facts in front of your eyes, or you can let your opinion and your ego kill a business that's got amazing potential. That's what we've found. Like, the founder is often the biggest cancer to growth because they have preset intentions of what they want that business to look like, regardless of what their customers want. And if you don't move, you die. And you'll die on your own sword. And it's nobody else's fault but your own. So that's the kind of conversation we have to have with founders sometimes, that might not know the unit economics, or, you know, don't want to be fluid and don't want to take risks. It's like, well, okay, this probably isn't a headache for us then, because we know where this is going, because it happens every time.
That's a very good point. It's my response, because you're right. I guess it's like you said, it people put their ego into the business, and it doesn't come from a bad place.
Yeah.
But it's, this is who my customer is, this is who I believe they are, or even this is who I want them to be.
Correct.
And I'm going to try and shape them around the business rather than the business around them.
Yeah.
And if you want longevity, like Apple and Nike, who moves and adapts and constantly diagnoses themselves and looks at who their segments are, they're the ones that succeed and target correctly.
Well, what we get all the time is that it's not on brand for me. It's not on brand for me. And we're like, you launched this business 9 months ago. You're not a brand. You're an SME with a set of brand guidelines, and those should be as fluid as possible until you figure out who the fuck wants your product or service. Yeah. So let's not be rigid now. You can be rigid later down the line if you've actually got this reputation. But it's, you know, they are difficult conversations to have sometimes with people. But I think it's in the best interest of the business to do it before we take a pound off them. Because what a lot of people do is say, yeah, we'll take the money, sign you in for a 12-month contract, the results will be shy, and I'll only tell you 6 months in it's because this, and this.
Yeah. And
you go, well, why didn't you tell me that at the start? So I just think, why would I go into a toxic relationship knowing full well what's going to happen? I don't understand the logic behind it. I know from the agency side, they just want the money in.
Sure.
But I want a long-term relationship where we can scale up with this person, and we need to set the boundaries, you know, flat out. If you called us, please listen to us. And if you don't want to listen to us, then please go somewhere else. Yeah.
What's your rate of success with that education piece, do you think? When you go to people and you tell them this is how it is, what's the percentage of resistance where you found people just won't shift, and how open people have been?
I think because it's like inbound, it's different. If we were doing that outreach and we were saying, you know, we were basically asking for the work and then coming in and delivering that, it'd be a lot lower. But because everything's inbound, they're pretty much 80-90% sold on how we work and how it's going to be for them. Yeah. You know, and don't get me wrong, this is a balance thing as well. Sometimes we'll suggest things that might be a little bit too out there, and they'll have to rein us in a bit, and that's absolutely fine, because it still has to be compliant and legal. But we're not kind of sector specific, we're just attitude specific, and we can kind of tell if someone is going to be open to being fluid and trialing things, and just with the nature of the language that they choose. You know, marketing's all about continuous split testing. And if they start seeing split testing as oh, how much money did we waste, rather than how much money did we invest in figuring out what doesn't work, which is just as important as figuring out what does work. And it's better to do that on a 10k spend rather than £1 million spend, because it'll save you a hell of a lot of money. If they don't have that attitude to growth, that business is unscalable. Fundamentally, it's unscalable. And they'll just keep treading water, doing 3 months here, 6 months there, 9 months there, and saying all agencies are the same. Actually, no, the problem here is you. Yeah. Let's just be honest. Well, let's not beat around the bush. The problem is you. You can't go through 5 agencies in 6 months or 9 months and say that the problem is them.
A little bit of self-reflection wouldn't go amiss.
Correct. Yeah. I think so, yeah.
Marketers are always to blame, though. You know that, Lewis.
I know, yeah, but we're happy to take the heat.
Yeah. So you mentioned that obviously the business has been built on inbound.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of that is the big PB term at the moment, personal brand.
Yeah.
Because, as I've said to you before, I almost perceive you as, just because you're so upfront, you don't really have time for any of the bullshit, any of the fluff.
Yeah.
The quotes people like to throw around, the fake motivational stuff. And I always like to think if I hadn't been broken by businesses into sounding like almost the politician that I sound like overly careful, I like to think I'd be as direct and put my personality into it as much as you do, and also your team, because I've seen their posts, how open they are, how educational they are, how informational they are. Yeah. And it's almost like you're trying to be a hero in the industry, not intentionally maybe, but like you're like, guys, here's what actually matters. Here's the numbers, here's the results, here's the data. But not only just here's the right thing, it's like spotlight on here's the wrong thing, here's to avoid. Correct. So this was almost like trigger warning. What's your view on the current state of personal brands and LinkedIn?
It's very on trend. You know, it's the actual term started giving me the ick a little bit now. Because obviously we offer like ghostwriting for clients and stuff like that, but it is that kind of buzzword, and it is another element of marketing that has a very low barrier to entry. And I think what the problem is, it's very easy to build a personal brand for yourself. You know, if you're a young, attractive marketer that doesn't mind taking pictures of yourself, and that's great. It's very easy. You know, it's very, very easy. Anyone can get attention online. Very, very simple. You drop your pants and you go run into the town centre, you'll get attention. You'll get an audience.
Is this a strategy you're giving away for free?
That's next week's campaign.
Yeah, okay, it makes sense. Yeah.
So that's what a lot of people do. They're so focused on the top funnel and they're great at getting people to look at them. But where we've seen people fall down is, number one, if you ask them to build a brand for someone else that is completely, a boring finance professional that's 55 that needs to sell to certain people, usually they've only got one tactic, and that's the one that worked to build their own. Actually being a little bit of a sociopath and a chameleon and being able to switch that tone and understand different people's markets, that's where the people make real money, on being able to, I'm an 18-year-old girl in the morning, I'm a 55-year-old finance director in the afternoon. That's where people make real money.
It's funny you say almost sociopathic chameleon, because it could also come from like a place of empathy and understanding, right? Being able to understand and get in the mind of the person you're trying to build it for. Is it? Yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah, maybe we should go with that. Yeah, it sounds much less murdery. Yeah. Let's go with that.
Both work. Yeah.
Ultimately, and I have this conversation because I don't mind calling people out on bullshit. People will make really, really bold claims based on entry-level theory, and I'll always say, where's the data to back this up? You got any data to back this up? Everyone's very good at the top funnel stuff. Look at me. I'm building a community. You're not building a community if all of them live in the arse end of nowhere and it's perverts with their pants around their ankles. That's not a community that are going to come and buy your IT support, is it? So it's what's actually converting. Have you got a conversion funnel in place? Well, I've got 100,000 followers. How many have bought from you? If it's 2, you've got a big issue. You're either targeting the wrong people or you're targeting the right people and your conversion funnel is shit. So there's an issue either way there. So then don't go and package that up and sell it to some naive person and say, these likes and followers really matter, because they don't. At the end of the day, try and pay your bills with them. It doesn't work. So that's what I don't see enough of in the industry itself, is let's talk about what this has actually led to in terms of revenue. And every time I've asked someone to do it, there is no reply to that.
Yeah, you've definitely triggered me over the last couple of weeks to reach out to people being like, hey, can I get a testimonial for that work I did? Because you're right, the evidence is scarce.
Yeah.
I think there's probably a balance of like people who, you're right, have not achieved any results, but there's also, I think, a mentality. People are almost, it's a very British thing, right? To like, this is maybe an excuse, but it's almost a very British thing to not shout about your success. Do you think there's a part of that at all?
I think some people can definitely be like that, depending on how sensitive like the issues are. I mean, say if someone's like a mental health trainer, you're probably not going to want your dirty laundry aired all over and say, Jenny came to me when she was falling to bits and look at her now, falling to bits a bit less. So it's one of those things, but I just think that everyone's on there. We're all on there to sell something. Ultimately, you have to remember that. And I'm a big fan of people not losing money. So I'll happily raise the curtain and say, this is how it works. This is what you should look for. This is the red flags to look out for when you're trying to deal with an agency. Because if it stops one person wasting money on shit, it makes my life and the industry as a whole better, because then I don't have to spend 2 weeks with my arm around their shoulder telling them it's going to be okay and that this person didn't know what they were doing. Because I don't like people that tar us all with the same brush and say, markets are the same. Mm-hmm. No. Well, you paid 400 quid, you got exactly what you paid for. What did you expect? Pay someone properly that knows what they're doing with a history of results and see the difference, because the golfing class is absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
But again, it comes down to the education piece, and I don't want to do that when people are paying us for a service. So I think if I can do that kind of higher up the funnel before people come to us and disqualify each kind of stage of that, then the people that we do end up speaking to are highly, highly qualified. And it's just an easier conversation to have. So it's kind of like delaying my gratification of going, I'll tell you all this shit now, and then it'll all be singing and dancing and hopscotch when we get later down the line and start working together.
But that goes back to, I guess, your initial hypothesis, right? Where you're like, there's a market out there for people who want the cold hard truth, and I can find it. And that's what you found, as you've given your message out there, you've spoken about it. Yeah. The reason everything is inbound and you've not had to do any outbound advertising or marketing to draw people in, it must be nice to see that success has come along and that people believe in what you're doing.
It is. It's nice. And I think it just depends on the metrics that you're measuring. For me, everything's about revenue anyway, because it's what keeps the lights on. It's what keeps the team paid. And it's, what allows me to have the odd takeaway now and again. So it's like revenue's the ultimate importance. A lot of people they leverage and they hang their entire being on like their follow account and buy little balloons and take little pictures. What are you doing? Like I don't physically understand it. Maybe it is the autism. I don't understand why that is important to you. But when you flip it and look at it with your standard kind of like cynical eyes on, that's because the easiest thing to sell to people is hope. Everyone knows a hopeful idiot 2 steps back, where if you say, oh, I got to 50,000 followers, they're not going to know what questions to ask you, whether you're making any money from it.
Yeah.
You can just wrap up the same entry-level theory in your branding and tell them how they can get results just like yours, even though no results exist, and they'll fall for it, and then they'll realise the truth later down the line, and then they'll pass the baton back, and that's how the kind of like pyramid of bullshit is formed, of people selling hope to naive and gullible idiots who then, it turns into an MLM eventually at the end of the day, because nobody's actually making any money other than the money they make of selling hopes and dreams
and
to the next
courses
person.
And this and that. So what would your advice be to people to avoid falling for that kind of the dream being sold?
If it sounds too good to be true, then it definitely is. And the metrics that actually matter to you are measured in pounds, not in little thumbs up from Tokyo. You know, it's you've got to actually look at it. This is a marketing service, so it ultimately has to result in, you know, leads that then you have to close or direct revenue. Otherwise, is it working?
So what's the plan for Lightbulb Media?
Yeah.
Not being too stuffy, not setting heavy restrictions for employees.
Mm-hmm.
Because I guess what we could say is the way you're running the business out is the new model. When you've got those old school agencies, it's bums and seats, it's this, it's that. So you're almost like an experiment for the rest of a lot of people to watch.
Yeah, I think so. And I think it's just basing everything on results is the best way, because if that person who is gallivanting around wherever stops getting results, then that system changes for that person.
Yeah.
As long as you keep getting the results, I don't give a shit where you do it or how you do it or what you're wearing when you do it. Just get the results. That's all that the business needs you to do. And I'm just a big advocate of people having freedom and actually liking where they work. I know, like you say, I did a post about it the other day about, you know, agencies luring people in with kind of free fruit and, oh, we've got a slide. Yeah, but I'm on 12 grand a year. Yeah, but a slide.
Yeah.
Have you not seen the slide?
Pizza Fridays, come on.
Exactly. Pizza Friday, stay till midnight. But yeah, don't worry about it, pizza.
Yeah.
So I think it's just lifting the lid for those young people coming into the industry of going, it might seem all fancy and that, you know, we're a family here. As soon as they say that, fucking run 1,000,000 miles. You don't want that. I don't like half of my own family. So yeah, that's not a good kind of USP for me. You need to find somewhere where you're actually happy, you actually want to come in and work and it fits around your life. Because I can't set a precedent for other people if I'm doing something completely. I can't say you're all in 9 to 5 if I'm pissing off and going to Barcelona and having a party, because it isn't right. So I think, yeah, you've got to set the standard, and then that kind of seeps down into the team, the management team, and therefore like the new people that are coming in.
So I guess we skipped a little bit because I was asking about how it was developing into a leader, and we were talking about how not everyone in the office in that aspect, but how are you finding the leadership qualities within yourself? Where are they coming from? Is that coming naturally through experience? Is there almost a research aspect? Where's that growth?
Yeah, it's very, very difficult as I think I'm a better leader than I am a manager, because it took me ages, like when I first started hiring people, to be like, right, well, I just assume everyone works like me. Here's a task, here's a deadline, crack on, come back when you're done, because that's how I would work, and I want to be left alone. I don't want to be micromanaged or anything like that. Not everyone works like that, apparently. Some people need a little bit more support, some people need regular check-ins, some people might need a little bit of hand-holding, so it's just...
With things being black or white, though, how's that development been up against, like... I don't want to just say, it's autism, because that totally simplifies it, I'm sure.
It's too much of a cop-out for that, just to say it's that. But I think it's just my general characteristics as well, of just being like an only child and just preferring to work alone, because I struggled with kind of letting go of things. For the first employees who are coming on, oh, my baby. And then you give a task, and then if they don't do it as fast or as well, your automatic response is, oh, just give it back, and because I can do it faster and better and quicker. And that held me back for probably like 6 months of thinking, letting go properly.
So it really took time for you
100%.
to shift that.
We're still learning now, and I think you can learn and you can tweak, but you can only push yourself. You can't push yourself to be a person that you're not. So then I promoted one of the team to ops manager, and she's an unbelievable manager of people, like so social and so on it and so supportive. So it's like, rather than me just try and pretend to be that person, why don't you just hire someone that is that person? and then just filling all the weaknesses, of which I have many. So it's finding the right people to fill those gaps in all those spaces. If you can, if you're fortunate enough to be able to do that, delegate as fast as possible so you can keep doing the shit that you like and the shit that makes money.
So is that your advice for like business owners and entrepreneurs who are struggling to give the work away and trust people and train people? It's just like find people who can do what you can.
Correct. Yeah, I was that person for so long, and it doesn't work. And you think you're actually saving time, but actually the stress you put yourself under costs you long term. Just because it's not tangible in front of your eyes, you don't really see it, but it actually holds back the growth of the business so much. So delegate, give time to people to kind of get up to speed, understand that there will be a lag time whilst they get up to speed and start kind of either paying for themselves as a new employee or setting new systems in place that then you need to follow.
Sure.
So yeah, you've just got to nothing changes overnight in business, and like the more people you hire, you realize the more issues and processes and communication styles that you've got to mold together to make sure that everyone's happy. So yeah, that's a difficult thing.
It's almost like you're solving old problems, which introduces new problems, but kind of better quality problems.
Yeah. We always say it's like champagne problems. If you're like, oh God, yeah, there's too many clients waiting, or we've got this, and we're like, oh, okay, well, the alternative is we haven't got any, so that would be a real big problem. So yeah, we try and kind of take the rough with the smooth. Not every day is going to be happy, not every day. We're not all going to be doing stuff that kind of sets our soul on fire and is all Instagram. Yeah. Sometimes you just have to do shit. You got to do admin. You got to speak to people that are knobs. Like it's life. You're not going to go through wrapped in bubble wrap, really enjoying everything you do. Don't believe all the shite you read on the internet, because it's not true. These people are trying to sell you something. And that's who they pander to the happy, clappy people, because that's what gets the vanity, which then allows them to package something up and sell it as a result, when actually no results exist. So you've just got to be, it's not even cynical, it's being a realist. Just be a fucking realist. Do you genuinely think the world is like that? Do you genuinely think the world is a Disney film where everyone's going to wrap around you and tell you that you're special, and everyone's going to mold around your individual needs, just you?
A lot of the people you've hired are younger. I'd say on average Gen Z, right? And the stereotypical view of older people around Gen Z is they're not, okay, this isn't me saying this just to come ask, but it's saying they're lazy, they expect this, they expect this, they expect this. We've spoken about how your view is with with your clients and explaining the world to them. Have you had to do that with new hires, do you think, as well, being like a bit of tough love, or the people you've hired, you hire them because they know better?
No, sometimes I think you do have to have those kind of honest conversations, because if people haven't been in a working environment before, some people might come from a real toxic office space, so where we are now is like a complete chalk and cheese, but some people might not have actually been in a job before and don't actually know how bad it is for most people that have to book annual leave to go to the fucking toilet and can't wear certain things and can't say certain things. So I think it's difficult. They're not going to experience that until they experience it. You know what I mean? I could send them to go and work in a law firm for a week, and then they might come back and go, "Oh my God, it's so nice here."
Yeah.
But you've got to learn from them as well, because I think as a millennial, we just accepted a shit hand that we were dealt. You come in, you do this, you get your training. Here's your 9 to 5. This is what you do. You clock in, you clock out. You wear a suit, and you don't say anything, and then that's it. You live, you retire, and then you've got 2-3 years to enjoy your money before you pop your clogs. That was a shit hand, and we were just like, yeah, cool, we'll do that.
It's because it was the norm, right? It was what everyone had done years before, so we were just like, this is the way things are.
Exactly, and I think Gen Z in particular are very, very good at recognising what their needs are, the more morally, the more ethically, the more value-driven. Don't get me wrong, there's extremes on both levels. Some people do genuinely think that the world should revolve around them.
Sure.
They will find that out in time. Reality will come for everyone. You'll be a very, very unhappy and jobless 35-year-old if you don't actually mould into some things that you don't like. Mm-hmm. But on the whole, I don't think it's a bad thing for people to recognise their own needs, because there are enough businesses out there that will fit them. Do you know what I mean? There's always another fish in the sea. Well, they didn't look after me when I needed that, but this business will. So it's kind of like businesses have to work hard to keep these people, because a lot of the time they're the ones with the finger on the pulse. They're the ones that know what's happening with new trends, and particularly in marketing as well. So yeah, you kind of, it's a mutually beneficial relationship. So to think that whole Daily Mail reader that, this isn't Facebook Brigade.
Yeah.
There's some amazing, amazing creative talent from the ages of like 15 to 21. Unbelievable.
Yeah, no, of course, I'm not making generalizations or tarring all generations with the same brush.
But
I do get, yeah. I'm like really covering my ass here. So Lewis, we've spoken like about all the professional stuff. What's your plans for yourself? What do you want for yourself? Like you said, you're recently diagnosed. I don't know if that's changed how you want to learn certain things. What do you really want for yourself over the next few years?
Yeah, so I really struggle to do like a work-life balance thing. So it's always just kind of like, what's the next project? It's not like, what am I going to do personally? So I'm not in work. I'm usually thinking about work, which isn't like a healthy thing. I understand that, but it's just that kind of hyper focus to get to where I need to be. So
it's the burden of being a business owner as well.
It is. So I've got obviously Lightbulb, and then there's going to be another kind of like product side to the business coming as well. And then there's a couple of separate projects within kind of like metaverse and social media coming up. And then just there's kind of like investments in other projects as well. So I can't whinge about being stressed and busy, because I do it to myself. Whenever I've got a spare moment, I don't think, oh, this is nice. I think, oh, this is suspicious. Let's do something. Let's start something else. So, yeah, I kind of do it to myself.
Yeah.
So you'll never hear me whinge about being too stressed.
Well, so the self-awareness is good, but is there like one thing that you have to constantly remind yourself of? Or like with everything you've been through and all that, is there something you just sit back and have to reflect on, being like, remember?
Yeah, I never like to plan too far into the future, and I think that might be a marketer thing, because as you'll probably know, fucking platforms change every 3 months or something. So yeah, your 5-year plan's gone to shit because they've just changed the entire system.
Yeah, algorithm change, so TikTok ban, whatever.
I'm very much a micro planner, like 3-month burst. Where can we get to in the next 3 months? Is that going to be another couple of heads on the business? Like, I don't want this mega 100-person agency. I'd be quite happy with sub 15 people doing great work for great brands that want to scale up and that, unlimited potential. So I think getting to a stage where it's like that is going to be good, but it's just, there's constant instability, do you know what I mean? In the last fucking 10 years, I'm just trying to live my life, and you've got 2 recessions, you've got a pandemic, you've got a pending world war, and it's like, I just want to have a couple of years where nothing happens.
Yeah, the millennial curse.
That would be nice.
Yeah,
if we could just not like crumble the economy, that would be pretty cool for a bit.
Yeah. So would you say the kind of advice there is, even though we want a more quiet, peaceful time, it's almost embrace instability, because it's just going to happen?
Yeah, 100%. Like you've got to run headfirst into it. Like all these waves of AI and things like that. You can either choose to surf it, or you can either choose to get fucking wiped out by it. The waves come in either way, whichever way you look at it. So it's your choice. Do you want to stand there and get mullered, or do you want to actually get a surfboard out and try and get on board with it and go the same way as it? The people that try and fight change, they lose every single time. Can you think of anybody that's still knocking about with Rolodexes and fax machines running their business? Probably not. You've got to get with it.
Yeah, classic adapt or die.
Yeah.
Right, Lewis, thank you so much for that.
No problem, mate.